All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Cardboard box becomes a castle, a wooden spoon, a silver sword. A blanket stretched across two chairs is a ship to worlds unexplored. There are dragons in the garden, there are fairies in the trees, and every whispered wish can sail upon the summer breeze. See the world through the eyes of a child, where every road runs free and wild, where stars are wishes, dreams have wings, and hope is found in everything. There's wonder in every mile, and magic in every smile. The older we get, the more we forget. See the world through the eyes of a child. They see kingdoms in the clouds above and buried treasure in the sand. They speak a language made of laughter that every heart can understand. They never judge where someone came from or care about the clothes they wear. They simply open up their hearts and find a world to share. See the world through the eyes of a child, where every road runs free and wild, where stars are wishes, dreams have wings, and hope is found in everything. There's a wonder in every mile, and magic in every smile. The older we get, the more we forget. See the world through the eyes of a child. Growing older teaches reasons why some dreams may not come true. But children help us to remember what we once believed and knew. Every sunrise is a promise, every raindrop is a song. And when we still believe in love, no heart is ever truly lost. See the world through the eyes of a child. Let yourself believe for a while, where stars are wishes, dreams have wings, and joy is found in simple things. There's a wonder in every mile, and magic in every smile. The older we get, may we never forget to see the world through the eyes of a child. The magic never left the world, it waits in every dream and smile. Hope in your heart and you will see the wonders seen by every child.
And good evening. Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we will cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we're right here on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220. That's 1220 on your AM dial. And they stream us around the world on classic1220.ca. If you would like to send me an email, it's very simple, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. Well, it's going to be a great hour, X Zone Nation. From the world of the unexplained mysteries, spiritual awakening, consciousness exploration, and the search for the truths hidden just beyond the veil of reality, tonight's guest has dedicated his work to examining the deeper questions of existence and humanity's connection to the unknown. Joining us tonight is author, researcher, and explorer of consciousness, Barry MARKOVSKY. And we've had Barry on the show before, and it was a fascinating show. Through his writings, research, and personal journey, Barry challenges conventional thinking while encouraging people to open their minds to the mysteries that surround us each and every day. We'll be discussing spiritual higher consciousness, unexplained phenomenon, humanity's evolving awareness, and the eternal question, are we far more connected to the universe than we realize? His official website is www.bmarkovsky.com. That's BMARKOVSKY.com. All right, Exo Nation, so lock your doors, dim the lights, and prepare to journey beyond the boundaries of ordinary reality as we welcome Barry back to the X Zone. And Barry, welcome back. Great having you with us tonight.
Thanks, Rob. It's really good to be back.
For the listeners who may not have been with us the last time you were on, because we've had a number of new affiliates join us since then, could you tell them a little bit about yourself and what inspired your journey into exploring the unknown?
Do you want the short version or the long version?
The version that you're most comfortable with and that will give our listeners the who you are and why what you're going to be talking to us about over the next hour is so important.
Sure. Well, I think if I wanted to go back as far as childhood, just like a lot of other kids, I was enthralled by science fiction films and monsters and the possibility that we could read each other's minds and those sorts of things. And I sort of outgrew that, along with many other children, through my teens. When I went to graduate school in sociology, I went to Stanford University, and I took a class my first or second year that was required. And that class was about scientific theory building. And part of that class was about distinguishing science from non-science, or distinguishing science from pseudoscience, from fields that claim to be scientific but aren't. And that was really, I can pin a lot of the work I've done since then to that class. It was very inspiring. And in the examples that are given in that aspect of the class, it's called the demarcation problem of science. They talk about astrology, they talk about psychic research and parapsychology and that sort of thing. And so I read a lot about that on the side. We certainly weren't studying that in my graduate program. And as I went through that program and then started my professional career a few years later, I started to think about not, are these things true necessarily? Other people are probably better equipped to study that question, but rather, why do people believe in these things, whether or not they're true? A lot of paranormal claims and supernatural claims just sort of crumble under close scrutiny. But nevertheless, there's always a pretty large segment of our society that will believe anyway in those things. So that is sort of the motivation behind the work that I've done and behind the book that I published earlier this year.
And for our listeners, what is the title of the book? Because I'm sure after this hour, they're going to want to buy it.
Sure. It's called Everyday Extraordinary. And the subtitle is A Scientist Ponders a Lifetime of Magical, Bizarre, and Paranormal Experiences. And available everywhere.
Okay, great. Now, we had you on the show a little while ago, and the response was really super. So thank you for coming back on tonight, Barry. But let's talk a little bit about beliefs. Now, where do beliefs come from, and why do we hold on so tightly to some and not others?
Yeah, I think it feels as if beliefs are being generated by our own brains.
Okay.
I think that's probably fair to say, that we simply decide when we hear a claim or read something or watch something, we make a judgment about whether it seems plausible or not, and we believe it on that basis. But my question is, as a sociologist and a social psychologist, what causes us to tilt one way or the other, if you will? And I find that when you start looking for social causes, in other words, causes that other people are inducing on us, that answers a good part of that question, where beliefs come from. It's actually pretty unusual to come up with a novel belief, right? I mean, almost anything you'd care to believe, you've heard of it before. Other
Sure.
people are making claims about it. They're arguing for it or against it. And you're getting that information and making a judgment informed by other people. And that's very different from just coming up with a judgment on your own, right? So who influences us then is, if you want to take the next step behind where those beliefs are coming from. And there's a few really interesting and well-supported theories of social influence in social psychology. I like one that it's kind of an old one called social impact theory, that argues there are three main factors that affect beliefs, and all of them involve other people expressing those beliefs. And the three factors are called strength, numbers, and proximity. Strength refers to the status or the standing of the people espousing the beliefs. So you're more likely to be influenced by a high status person than a low status person, by an authority figure than by someone who isn't an authority. That's the strength factor. The numbers factor refers to how many other people are espousing the claim.
All right, Barry, what we're going to do is we're just going to have... Barry, we're going to have a bit of a cliffhanger here because we're running right up to the clock for the first break. So please stand by. Exo Nation, our guest this hour is author, researcher, and a real nice guy that you're going to find out over the next hour, Barry MARKOVSKY. His website, www.bmarkovsky.com. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the CanCom Broadcast Network. And we're just down the street from your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ. They transmit through southern Ontario and the northern tiers of the state of New York and Pennsylvania on AM 1220. And, of course, they stream us around the world on classic1220.ca. And Barry and I will return after this short break. Don't go away.
There are dragons in the garden, there are fairies in the trees, and every whispered wish can sail upon the summer breeze. See the world through the eyes of a child, where every road runs free and wild, where stars are wishes, dreams have wings, and hope is...
Sirens in the distance, flashing through the night, running into danger while others take flight. Boots on the pavement, heart steady and true, but there's something deeper guiding what he'll do. Beyond the flames, beyond what eyes can see, a voice within speaks of destiny. He's a psychic firefighter, walking through the fire, saving them all.
Brian Markovsky is our special guest, bmarkovsky.com, and please continue.
Yeah, I was probably taking too long reviewing
No,
the different factors that cause people's that lead to belief change,
Right.
or to induce beliefs for the first time. And those factors were called strength, numbers, and proximity or immediacy. Just in a thumbnail, strength refers to the status of the influencer.
Mm-hmm.
Number refers to how many influencers there are. So more people who are making a claim and seem to agree with each other, the more influence that will have on you. And proximity or immediacy refers to how socially close they are to you. Are they people you know and trust? Are they strangers? Are they in the room with you? Are they just coming to you through the airwaves like me? And when all those three factors are lined up, the research shows you get a very strong social influence. And again, this is independent of the validity of the claim that's being made. So, and that's important. If it's a valid claim and you're induced by other people to believe it, fantastic. But you also should be wary that we can be induced to believe false claims as well.
And that's what we see so often here on the show. I was producing a show earlier today for another host, and they based their belief, and this was in UFOs, because the person who was talking about them on television was an author, and he's very well known in the UFO community. And the question, the host said, "Well, have you yourself seen a UFO?" And the guest said, "No." And he said, "So why do you believe this author, this person?" "Well, because they're an author. They're well known." And the guest went on with all the reasons why he believed. And then the host came back and he said, "Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but he has never seen a UFO." So that just proves your point that it was because of this person who this guest had been listening to had what they believed were credentials that could not be disbelieved.
It's a really difficult problem to know who to believe. I'm the first to acknowledge that. As a researcher, I have learned over time and sometimes painfully where to find good sources and trustworthy sources. But when people you trust who may have nefarious motives, for instance, are telling you, "No, that's fake information. You should believe me instead," it can be very confusing. I don't have any names at the top of my head, but there are some websites now that, Snopes.com is a really good one.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
finding authoritative information on just about any kind of weird claim that's out there. I really like it, and they, their reputation depends on having good information,
and
it's
then
a good place to look.
And then, of course,
you're making me think of.
No, I was just going to say, and then viewers and listeners could actually go and watch the press conferences from the White House every day. That was a little bit of political humor that did not.
I'd rather have that condensed, personally. Yeah.
So belief.
I was going to say that.
Go ahead, Mark.
I'm sorry. We have a delay here, so
Yeah.
I keep talking over you. I'm sorry. I was going to mention along the same lines. Anyone can go Google this if they want, but Carl Sagan wrote a book called The Demon Haunted World, and in that book he had a set of rules of thumb called the Baloney Detection Kit, and I mean this has been reprinted in other places. but you can find it on the internet. Carl Sagan's Baloney Detection Kit, and I won't go through the whole thing. There are about nine or 10 different things to watch out for. So, for instance, he's always advising us to seek independent confirmation of a claim. Don't just trust a single source, and don't just trust another source that's close to the first one. Find independent sources for information and see if they converge. If they don't, well, somebody's making a mistake. In science, also, we encourage criticism and debate. And that's something that pseudosciences and non-sciences are not as comfortable with. But I can tell you from personal experience that if somebody cares enough to look so carefully at what you're doing that they come up with shortcomings and criticisms, it's worth your while to listen, because having multiple eyes on your work or on a particular kind of claim that's being investigated is always better than just being the only one to be looking at it yourself. Other of these rules of thumbs include doubt authorities, because they're just humans. They can make mistakes too. And one of my favorites would be to consider alternative explanations, not just the explanation that you favor or that feels good to you, that gives you a feeling of connection or familiarity. Consider alternative explanations that you may not be comfortable with, and often that's where you find the truth.
The last time you were on, we didn't get to talk about a topic that I'm very interested in talking to you about, and that's consciousness. I was wondering if you could tell me about, what it means and the so-called easy problem and had problem of consciousness around which current research and philosophy is circling.
Yeah, I don't claim to be at the cutting edge of this field, but I have delved into it enough because it's relevant to some of the things that I do. Connections between the mind and the body, for instance. So you mentioned the easy problem of consciousness and the hard problem. The easy problem, which isn't that easy, but it's what is the brain doing when it's processing information, or how does it treat different colors, different electromagnetic vibrations, or if you will, waves. How is it handling that? How do we go from the waves to the rods and cone cells in the eyes being stimulated, to the neural transmissions into different parts of the brain, to the experience of color, let's say? And it's that experience that starts getting us into the hard problem of consciousness, trying to answer questions like, what does it mean to experience the color red? How is it that essentially meat, our brains, this sort of wet mass of cells, how does that generate thoughts and self-awareness? And this also edges into questions of mind, or let's say body versus mind, or body versus soul. As are they one thing, or are they two completely separate entities? People may know this as the problem of dualism versus monism. Are mind and body separate, or is the mind, or what we experience as a soul, generated by physiological processes? And this people can argue about this endlessly, but there is a lot of research that bears on it directly. And it's just, and it's not that shocking or surprising research. It's just, you don't necessarily think of it as somehow connected to this issue. But for instance, when people experience brain damage because of a lesion, a disease, or an injury, oftentimes, depending on where in the brain that lesion has occurred, that injury has occurred, an aspect of consciousness is lost. It could be we can no longer recognize faces, or we lose our sense of hearing, or we lose part of our memory. And for me, the fact that those kinds of losses of consciousness, partial losses of consciousness, you can literally lose consciousness, of course, with a brain injury. But those demonstrate that the experiences that we have of consciousness are intimately related to parts of the brain, to brain physiology, brain functioning. And I mean, that's undeniable. And I think that is likely to be the most fruitful direction. The philosophers, have some different approaches to answering the hard question. And some just like throw up their hands and they say, well, the brain is incapable of fully understanding itself. Trying to remember the name for that. It's called Mysterianism.
All right,
so the brain can never fully understand itself.
All right, you and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour. Please stand by. And X Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Barry Markovsky, and his website is bmarkovsky.com. That's BMARKOVSKY.com. And Barry and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our place in St. Catharines, Ontario. Actually, we're just down the street from your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ, and Barry and I will be back after this very short break. So whatever you do, don't go away.
Running into danger while others take flight. Boots on the pavement, heart steady and true. But there's something deeper guiding what he'll do. Beyond the flames, beyond what eyes can see, a voice within speaks of destiny. He's a psychic firefighter, walking through the fire, saving more than bodies, lifting spirits higher from the smoke.
When the night feels heavy and the answers won't come, when your heart's out searching but you're feeling undone, there's a voice in the silence calling out your name, reading stars in the heavens, lighting up your flame. She sees the patterns past and present too, a cosmic map that leads you back to you. Ask Holly Hall, she'll read your soul tonight. Through the stars, she'll bring your truth to light. From the past to the future, every rise and fall, find your path. Just ask Holly Hall.
Barry Markovsky is my special guest. And Barry, can I ask you a question about consciousness?
Sure.
Does consciousness survive death?
If I had to bet, I would say no. I think that probably what we experience after death is the same as what we experience before we're alive, which is nothing. That bothers a lot of people, I realize. But you asked me a blunt question.
That's
I'm giving
right.
you a blunt answer.
No, that's what I like.
That's my take on it. I think we have just seen so many kinds of studies, so much evidence that the brain loses function as we deteriorate. And the continuation of that is that it stops functioning, not that something that we don't really understand at all or can detect at all somehow leaves the body and continues on. I just don't see the evidence for that, but socially and psychologically, I understand the desire to believe that very well.
Well, how about near-death experiences? Is that part of consciousness?
Sure. Certainly, it's a kind of conscious experience that occurs under some very extreme physiological conditions. And I have read a fair amount on this topic because I've been interested in parapsychology and what they have to offer. There's no theory, there's no scientific theory that would help us to explain near-death experiences as a soul-related phenomenon. But there are theories that help us to understand it as a brain function phenomenon. So there are very similar experiences that people have when the brain is affected chemically or electrically through external stimulation. In other words, near-death experiences can be reproduced quite readily without any reference to souls leaving the body or anything like that. And that's exciting to me. I think that kind of research is very compelling because it helps us to understand such a deeply emotional experience.
I would imagine that there are many people out there living day to day who just may not be able to accept the reality that we're here for a short time, and once we're gone, we're gone.
Yeah. The work that I've been doing most recently since the book came out, I want to plug this just briefly.
Sure,
I'm doing a blog for Psychology Today. Yeah. And the theme of the blog is not too different from the theme of the book, except that it doesn't have to do with the paranormal. It just has to do with everyday experiences that people have. I'm focusing on finding joy in the simple things. I felt like the song that you played at the top of the show was very appropriate, Through the Eyes of a Child.
Right. I love it.
Joy is found in the simple things. Well, that's the title of the first blog was The Complexity of Simple Pleasures. And on the one hand, it's about finding joy and meaning in the simple things in life, but also from a scientific standpoint, how do we derive that meaning? Where does that come from? So there's something complicated going on as well. I'm not saying everybody has to care about that, certainly, but I do as a social psychologist. And I find that the more I study this, where meaning and joy come from, the more I can appreciate it. There's a famous metaphor by the physicist Richard Feynman, Nobel Prize winning physicist. And I may have mentioned this on the first time I was on your show, but it's worth mentioning again. He talked about how you can appreciate the beauty of a flower as an artist, as just a regular person. But you can also appreciate the flower as a scientist and understand on a micro level how it works, how it operates, and maybe on a macro level how it fits into an ecological system without taking away the beauty of that flower. In fact, he claims it enhances the beauty when you understand it at these different levels. And I think the same thing is true about people and simple pleasures, that if we understand more about how we can derive pleasure from a walk in the woods or from a hobby, we're more likely to enjoy life.
It seems, Barry, and please correct me if I am going down the wrong way street here, but it seems that life is very simple, and we as humans cannot accept anything that is simple. We have to complicate it, at which time we get it wrong.
I think that happens for sure. I wouldn't say all of life is simple. Human societies are complex systems. There's no getting around it. Our brain is a complex system.
Definitely.
Our physiologies are complex. But on the other hand, to learn to appreciate simple things, the flower, the walk in the woods, the hobby that gives you joy, to be mindful of those pleasures is that, to me, is the way to go. And I actually talk in that first blog post about my spur of the moment answer when I was asked for a quote to go under my yearbook picture in high school. And I was just thinking, come on, keep it simple, stupid. And I said, simplicity is the essence of happiness. And that has actually stuck with me for the 50 plus years since I graduated high school. And I still believe it. I really do. And it doesn't stop me from digging deep into some topic and finding out the more complex processes that might give rise to it, the physiology of the flower, for instance, or the array of social influences that lead me to enjoy playing the guitar, for instance. But the simple act of playing the guitar, the simple act of enjoying a hobby those are the things that, to me, make life worth living.
Yeah, my high school quote was "crap happens," except I really didn't use the word crap, but that was my quote. And and speaking about walking in forests, Bigfoot, what is your take on Bigfoot? Have you looked into the anomaly and where it originated from, and why so many people really believe that Bigfoot is real, even though there has never been any scientific proof or video analysis to prove that he really does exist, or she?
Well, you had a guest, I think, that had some video evidence or a reanalysis of video evidence. Trying to remember the guy's name.
M.K. Davis?
Anyway, yeah. So I watched part of that episode, or listened to rather, and then went and dug up some of his analysis online. And I mean, this isn't really answering your question. I'll go back and answer your question a little bit better. I am not a Bigfoot aficionado. I have read the histories, but I can't regurgitate them for you online. But of course, I'm very curious about two things. One, could this be real? And two, why do so many people believe it? Is my usual two-pronged question when it comes to extraordinary claims. And the evidence, as you said, is not very strong. Somebody like your guest, your recent guest, believes very, very strongly that the evidence is fantastically good, that it's incontrovertible evidence. I looked at the same evidence, and I know something about video enhancement techniques, and he seemed to, he actually enhanced images to the extent that you could see a face on the famous
Patterson,
the most famous Bigfoot video.
Right,
yeah,
the Patterson Gimlin.
Gimlin, I think is the. Yeah. that was in the 1970s. That was half a century ago, and with the widespread use of really high resolution video cameras that we all carry in our pockets now, you would think, and the increased encroachment on the territories that Bigfoots are believed to inhabit, you would expect that we would have much better evidence by now. But he would take a video like that, which is very grainy and blurry,
right,
and enhance it, which involves making assumptions about at the pixel level that actually could distort things and doesn't necessarily give you a more accurate picture. If the information isn't there, which it wasn't in the original video, you can't just produce a face out of nothing.
All right, stand by, Barry. We've got to
things,
take our break. Exonation, Barry Markovsky is our special guest, and Barry and I will be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. And for more information about Barry, visit his website, www.bmarkovsky.com.
But you're feeling undone. There's a voice in the silence calling out your name, reading stars in the heavens, lighting up your flame. She sees the patterns past and present too, a cosmic map that leads you back to you. Ask Holly Hall, she'll read your soul tonight through the stars. She'll bring your truth to light from the past.
Hey there, gather round, it's time for the show. The X Zone's where the wild mysteries flow. Rob McConnell's here with a voice so clear. Dive into Bigfoot, no need for fear. In the heart of the woods where legends reside, with footprints and stories Uncle Sam confides. Patterson Gimlin, let's rewind that tape. Frame by frame, let's scrutinize the shape. Expert guests and researchers on the line, with skeptics chiming in, forming quite the design. Whether sightings are true or just a wild tale, we're exploring every clue, let the mystery prevail. Searching for Bigfoot, oh what a ride. In the X Zone, we'll take it in stride. Thermal imaging and whispers at night. Rob's got the scoop and he's shining a light. Keep your minds open, let curiosity reign. In the search for the truth, there's so much to gain. From audio recordings of howls in the dark to ancient indigenous tales that spark, the tales of Sasquatch are woven so fine. Rob's gathering voices, it's truly divine. In North America's wild, legends undeterred, with chilling discoveries, oh how they've stirred. And investigators dream with theories to spawn. Every corner we turn, a new truth to dawn. Searching for Bigfoot, oh what a ride. In the X Zone, we'll take it in stride. Thermal imaging and whispers at night. Rob's got the scoop and he's shining a light. Keep your minds open, let curiosity reign. In the search for the truth, there's so much to gain.
And welcome back. Talk about a synchronicity, huh? Yeah, we actually prepare our segment.
I had a smile on my face through that.
Yeah, well, you know what? Craig prepares all the bumpers in the afternoon for the show at night. And number one, the first one we played was Through the Eyes of a Child, fit perfectly with what we were talking about. And then here we are, the final segment. And what's the name of the song? Bigfoot Chasing Truth. By the way, Exonation, you can get all of the songs that we've played tonight. Let me see. The first segment was Through the Eyes of a Child. Second segment was Psychic Firefighter. The third segment was Ask Holly Hall. And this one here is Chasing Bigfoot. There you go. And they're all available at RAM Music. That's rammusic.ca. Well, talk about synchronicities. So when we look at all the so-called evidence, because M.K. Davis is known as the formative expert on the Patterson-Gimlin film, Bluff Creek, Is that why people believe him? Because, like you said, the film that he has isn't that great, or any of the photos that are taken aren't that great. And I find it ironic whether we're talking about UFOs, ghosts, Bigfoot, or any other anomaly within the field of the paranormal, ever since everybody has this high definition camera in their pocket. Videos and photographs of the paranormal, including UFOs, have gone way down.
Yeah, it's true. It almost seems as if those phenomena may not be as real as people think.
That is what I believe as well, because the amount of photos that were coming out, oh gosh, even in the 60s, 70s, especially after Close Encounters, Independence Day, Unsolved Mysteries, The X-Files, people were just sending in photos like crazy. And then it started with the EVP phenomenon. And once again, as technology advances, the number of photographs and recordings that we've received have declined so much. If I get one photo every 2 weeks, that's a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately, that standard of evidence doesn't hold anymore. The fuzzy photo of things in the sky. I have, maybe you could call it even a little collection of videos I've pulled from various sources that show people looking at a UFO in the sky at night, invariably. And what I find so fascinating about them is it's always just an indistinct point of light or ball of light. But the people, you can hear kind of whipping up one another's enthusiasm and excitement toward this object. And one person, now they're all kind of agitated, the adrenaline's flowing, they're excited. One person will declare, it's a UFO, or I see red flashes on it, or something like that. And then everybody else will as well. This is a classic social contagion phenomenon. And it's not just something that happens in the moment, but it also affects how we store information about our experience. And then, of course, how we retrieve that information. Just seeing something in the presence of others can create a false memory.
Here's the interesting part, Barry. If it is a UFO, and I'm not everything that you don't understand what it is in the sky is a UFO because it's unidentified. You can't identify it. But let's use the word UFO to mean an alien spacecraft, okay? If you've got an alien spacecraft that is reflecting light, because that's the only way it could be seen, then I'm sorry, that's not a UFO. Yes, it is, but that doesn't mean it's from outer space, because if they've got the technology to traverse time and space, don't you think they'd have the technology to cloak themselves so they wouldn't be spotted? And then people say, well, come on, Rob, that's rubbish. And this is where I say, well, what would happen if an aircraft shut off its night lights, its navigational lights? Would you still see that aircraft? No, you wouldn't. So wouldn't the same optical, what's the word I'm looking for here, way of seeing this commercial aircraft without lights, wouldn't that also apply to a spaceship from another galaxy? You know, they'll accept the fact that already.
Sure, unless they.
Yeah, go on, sir.
Unless they wanted to be seen, unless they want to announce themselves, I suppose. It's fun to think about, but one of the rules of thumb in Sagan's baloney detection kit was Occam's razor.
Oh, right.
Go for the simplest explanation, the one that makes the fewest, the fewest assumptions that aren't supported. And aircraft often are the simplest explanation, or maybe more than often, maybe nearly always. This happened. I was on a full moon hike with a bunch of other people last year, I think, and we saw a UFO up in the sky. It was this series of lights moving in synchronicity across the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't recognize that as much as I've read and written about UFOs. I went home and I Googled a little bit and I found,
Starlink?
oh, that's Elon Musk's satellite
Yeah.
system.
Starlink. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't prove it can't prove it, but it perfectly fit the description of what you would expect to see from Earth. And now there are, even since the last couple of years, there are hundreds and hundreds of those strings that are flying around now.
Yeah, it gives a whole new meaning to the song "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star."
Yeah, you could add that one to the playlist.
No, that's copyright. I can't use it. What about psychics and ESP? What is your take on that?
Well, that's a big field, a big question, and with just a few minutes left, I have to be careful not to start lecturing again. But I find even what's offered as the most compelling evidence really interesting always. But the problem is, I found that to be the case 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, with the newest research that's come out. And always within 5 years or so, somebody discovers that you can't reproduce the result, or they uncover some sort of fraudulent treatment of the data,
Mm-hmm.
or their methodological flaws emerge that weren't immediately evident in the publications. So even though there are still results coming out in parapsychology with different kinds of ESP related research that give me tingles, because wouldn't it be fantastic if this were true? I'm old enough now to have seen every single one of those tingly sort of findings eventually discredited. So I mean, that doesn't really make me sad. It just means maybe we should be finding putting our research energies elsewhere.
In the 2 minutes we have left, what is your message for the Exo Nation tonight? What would you like to share with them that will kind of give them something to look forward to and something to better understand life with?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned earlier, what I've been working on lately, I've been putting my energy into this blog for Psychology Today. Mm-hmm. And I only started posting a few weeks ago. There are 2 posts up. I have another one that I'm almost ready to let go of. And I think the messages there are really important. And this is coming from someone who does, I'm very humble about my own work. I don't, I'm not good at promoting it. I've always considered myself a sort of link in the chain of science, and not some sort of huge innovator or explorer. But in this case, I think I have something to offer based on all these years of experience about finding joy and finding pleasure, and recognizing that even the simple things in life are extraordinary in their own way. Dogs and cats are just incredible creatures, and to appreciate them, to be mindful of them and who they are and what they do for us, or the other kinds of pleasures I mentioned. I took up a hobby only about 6 months ago.
Hey, Barry,
that has given me a lot of pleasure lately. I am
Barry,
using...
I hate to do this, but we've just
okay.
run out of time. Come back and see us soon, would you, Barry?
Okay.
All right, take care of yourself.
That would be great, Rob.
Good night, my friend. And Exonation, Barry Markovsky has been my guest. His website is bmarkovsky.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this break as hour number 2 of the X Zone for tonight continues right here on the CanCom Broadcast Network and your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, streaming us at classic1220.ca.
Limestone